Last month, I watched some really great movies, also a big variety. Some were really otherworldly experiences, as I will call them. And yeah, others were just really intriguing stories about family, love, and just life in general. So let's talk about them. One of those otherworldly experiences was Enter the Void by the French director Gaspar Noé. This film was very unique. Starting off just with the story and the theme of life and death, and just also the cinematography. Since it played in Japan, they had all these neon signs lit up, and just all of that made you feel like you were also on a psychedelic trip, like some of the characters were in the movie. I then continued with a more lighter movie. It's a French comedy called Lagoon Boof. This was also unique in its own way, and I had a really fun time watching it. It's basically just about a couple of characters coming together. I believe they were old friends, having a big feast. I guess it's like a week long or so. Yeah, just a lot of eating, a lot of sex going on. Yeah, like many French films. In July, I watched Alien for the first time, and I totally fell in love with it. So I was really excited to watch the second part, Aliens. As the title suggests, there is now more than just one of the alien on board. Or yeah, they go to a whole new planet, and again, a really great movie. I then immediately wanted to continue with the two prequel movies. We first watched Prometheus, and yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. It is definitely a totally different feeling than the other Alien movies. Yeah, this was more about exploring where the aliens come from, but also where humanity comes from. And I thought that was a very interesting question that the movie asked. These questions then continued in the other prequel movie, Alien Covenant. I didn't enjoy it as much as Prometheus, but it still leaves the saga with a lot more to explore and find out. Another movie I've been wanting to see for a long time is the Scottish movie Trainspotting. I really enjoyed all the different characters they had in this movie. They all have their own unique flaws and quirks, and just a combination of that all brings a lot of humorous scenes in there. And also, if y'all don't understand everything that's being said in the movie, that's also part of the humor, I find, because just one or two of those characters had like really strong Scottish accents. So yeah. I'm usually not a big fan of sequel movies to great standalone movies like Trainspotting, for example, but T2 Trainspotting I enjoyed a lot as well. Yeah, you can definitely enjoy Trainspotting without seeing the sequel. It's not necessary that you watch it, but I do find it's kind of a nice addition, just seeing where these unique characters are at like 25 years later in their life. I had heard a lot of great things about Stanley Kubrick's Cold War movie Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Start Loving the Bomb. I think I pronounced that right, but yeah, that's the title of the movie. The comedic actor Peter Sellers plays 3 different characters throughout this film, and yeah, just all of his characters and many of the others were very hilarious. There were some really absurd scenes in there, but I still find that the movie was written very well, and yeah, just had some really good jokes in there too. I was very intrigued when I first heard about the plot of One Night in Miami. It's about the 4 legendary and successful black men: Sam Cooke, a singer; Jim Brown, the Hall of Fame running back from the NFL; the greatest of all time boxer, Muhammad Ali; and the civil rights activist, Malcolm X. This movie is very dialogue driven. It was actually first made as a theater piece, and yeah, just in the past year became a screenplay and then a movie. My mom was kind enough to bring me the Criterion Collection's The Complete Films of Agnes Varda. I think she's a absolute genius, a legendary director from the French New Wave, and yeah. So I watched a bunch of her short films. This is the other side. I watched a bunch of her short films, some of her feature-length films and documentaries, But I think for that, I will be doing a separate video. Next, I watched another movie by Gaspar Noé called Irreversible. Like basically all his movies, this is also a total mindfuck. The movie starts at the end of the story and goes backwards in time. Basically like the movie Memento. Also just the film work in there was very unique and had some really creative shots, I must say. For anyone who is interested in watching this movie, just be aware that there's a very brutal rape scene in there, which many viewers just couldn't watch or had to skip over. So just be aware of that before you go into this movie. The last two movies that I watched in August were both nominated for many Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Nomadland wasn't just only nominated for Best Picture, it won the award, and I totally agree with that. I really like the feeling of this movie. It stars Frances McDormand, who plays a fictional character traveling the country, living out of a van, and all the other people that appeared in the film were real people living life out of a van. So yeah, the movie kind of felt like you were watching a documentary and made the performances feel like they were real because some of them actually were real. The other movie is called Minari, and it's about a Korean family that moves to the US trying to live the American dream. The father is a devout farmer and wants to grow different Korean plants on their new land. And yeah, I think this was also a very beautiful movie about love, about family, and yeah, just life in general. Those are the movies I watched in August 2021. Let's get into my recommendations. My first recommendation goes to Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Peter Sellers delivers 3 great performances in there. He plays the president, is one of those roles, and yeah, there are some really iconic lines in this movie, and I find it's a great comedic masterpiece by Stanley Kubrick. The second recommendation goes to Nomadland. As mentioned before, I really like the feeling of this movie. It feels like a documentary, and you just have so beautiful performances in there. Also, just shots of the American landscape in there are very beautiful. Alright, those are the movies I watched. Let me know which of these y'all would like to watch or have seen already, and I'll see y'all next month.